debate, uncut and after show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Steve on the level, Thomas van der Zender, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unimento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Playing Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W., Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Charian Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hey, g'day, George.
Hey George. Hey AJ. How are things? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I just ran out of words.
You ran out
Sorry.
of words. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sounded like it was in a foreign language to me. Has it been busy in the Flat Earth Politics server? It's very quiet at the moment.
All the action was over in the politics and religion server for the last couple of hours.
Okay, that's not
A
my
few
bag.
classic meltdowns.
Fair enough. That's not my bag.
Apparently, one of the boys was saying there's a Globe Gangsters channel now on some server that's made up. That should be pretty funny to have a look at.
Globe Gangsters.
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmad.
Is that you, George? You're very muffled.
No, it's another chap.
No, it's not me. No.
German
So the
Muslim?
Earth is flat, right?
That's how it's measured.
Can someone send me a photo of the flat Earth from space?
From
How
the
does it
vacuum
look
of
like?
space.
No?
From the vacuum of space.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's no vacuum of space. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill that area of volume in line with the second law of thermodynamics. Gas fills space.
Okay. Didn't consider that. Thank you very much.
No worries.
But one question. What is out there?
I don't know. Up in the sky, you mean? I
Is
don't
there no
know.
out there? Yeah. Did you fly up to the sky?
When you say
or no?
out there, what do you mean precisely?
So, like I see birds flying, some birds can fly very high.
Okay, gotcha.
There are clouds out there. I can see stars. Is there anything out there or not?
Other than what you described, you mean?
Do you believe in high buildings?
I'm trying to tie you down to what you want me to
Is there a
answer.
border?
Okay,
Can I
it seems like you don't really want my answer.
higher
You just
and
want to keep
higher?
asking the question
Like,
while I try and
high
answer
can I
you or
build?
establish what
How
it is
high
you want
can
to
I
do.
build, actually?
Maybe if you just keep talking while I'm trying to establish what you want as an answer, it won't come. I don't know where you're asking me to justify what is or isn't there. If you're saying the sky and saying, well, what's there? And then you list a load of stuff. My response was to say, what beyond the stuff you've just listed? That was my response. But then you carried on talking as I tried to clarify that.
I don't understand your point. My question was very simple. Did you travel up there, to space or not?
I already clarified what you
Why
mean
is the
by
sky
space,
blue?
and it
Why
seems
is
like
the
I'm
sky
only
not
3
red?
words in,
Why
and
is it blue?
German Muslims talking through the middle of my response immediately, and has had to be muted by the server operator. Perhaps this is because it's not neutral, and it's perfectly tolerable for the guy to ask me a direct question and then continue to talk as I start to respond to him. Right, up there, if it's space, I clarified what the vacuum of space, you said yes, then I described the second law of thermodynamics, and you conceded that wouldn't be a place we'd be going, and now he's asking me whether or not I've been there again. So it seems like this circle-jerking fundamentalist religious zealot didn't actually accept what he had accepted verbally to me and clarified he understood with the second law of thermodynamics. He wants to ask me if I've been to a place that doesn't exist again. So, chanting fundy zealot, is that the end of your time? Did you just want to rinse and repeat the same thing 4 more times, perhaps?
I don't care about your toilet accent, okay? Coming from the suburbs of London or something.
Is racism tolerated in the server? What's
If
going
you
on
would
now?
stand in
Are we
front
allowed?
of me,
Is racism allowed? What's going on? Yep, bye-bye forever. That's what you lean on when your sky vacuum fails. And even though you've accepted that the second law of thermodynamics would mean that there is no area of volume gas isn't filling, it would fill the space. Meanwhile, you don't like my accent. Then get lost forever. You don't have an argument. What you do have is a belief in a sky vacuum that I debunked with the second law. And you asked me if I'd been there after I debunked it, and you acknowledged it. So that was the end of your argument here, wasn't it, German Muslim? You failed miserably. Earth is flat. The sky vacuum doesn't exist.
Debunk white replacement.
Was that me getting chanted through by a white knight at the middle of my summary in victory? I think it was. I was there summarising my victory about Earth being flat and the sky vacuum being fake, as per the argument that ended up in an ad hom about my accent. And there's a white knight chanting through me, taking my victory dance. What a shock.
Come on, Nathan. How do you think they'd go with my accent then?
I don't care about anybody's accent, as long as I can understand. If I don't,
I know.
if I can't understand, literally, then I will have to say that. Because it's a comprehension on my part. Now, you might say, well, that's your ignorance. Fine, I don't care. I'll take it on the chin. But if I literally can't understand somebody, I'll say something. But beyond that, I don't care how you sound.
Mic check.
Hello.
We're in politics today, correct?
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, it's always nice to glad hand the fundies.
Somebody's got to remember that song Manic Monday? Somebody's got to make a song about that with these fundies.
Fundy Friday. How about that?
Perfect. Yeah, that conversation was akin to, yeah, you can't go to Narnia. There isn't really a place you can travel through a wardrobe through. It doesn't exist. There is no time dilation via wardrobes into lands beyond the realm of Earth called Narnia. The guy goes, oh, right, thanks for telling me that. I understand that now, that there can't be a Narnia. Right, okay. Have you been to Narnia?
Yeah, well, they did a good job. Whoever started this whole thing and making people believe that space is real, outer space I'm talking about. They did an excellent job.
Yeah. Do you remember now, Neil?
I don't know. I don't think so. I thought I was, but I don't think I am.
Ah, bummer. You might get to see the new Omi videos then. There's 4 of them.
I kind of like that blonde girl you had on. She was good. She had a great voice, number one.
Oh, of course you were
But,
there when I recorded them.
What's that?
I said you're not a member, therefore you won't get to see the new Omi videos, but you were there when I recorded them.
Yeah, but they're always good to watch back. I always love watching back.
I think it's fantastic what you're doing with that because it's showing that you can break out of this little community here, go out into the real world, quote unquote, and it drives the Globers mad. It can't continue.
It's very popular too.
100% correct.
I've had just under 100,000 views on YouTube in the last 28 days, and I've had just over 100,000 views on TikTok in the last 28 days.
You ever wonder what it would be if the algorithm was even?
I watch the stats and react accordingly, and I've driven numbers up. Now, I had to do that as a salesman in times of recession when I was selling the most expensive item, luxury item, the very first thing that's going to get cut. So what do you watch? You watch the statistics and the figures and see it going down, and you react accordingly to maintain your job and the company's sales. This is no different. I can watch the stats, and you can say it's because there's a recession. I can say it's because Congress have throttled me. All right, that's lovely that you can make excuses for your failure. Meanwhile, I can react to that and do things about it, like Omi. Well, there's a line in The Rock, but I won't say the swear word. So it's got the two characters now. Nicolas Cage and that Bond guy. What's his name? He's dead now. Sean Connery. And the Nicolas Cage character is whining about doing his best. And the Sean Connery character says, losers always moan about their best. Winners go home and F the prom queen.
Was that from The Rock?
Yeah, it is.
Would you ever debate Professor Dave on YouTube?
I asked Professor Dave to debate me and he refused.
Sorry?
I asked him to debate me and he said no.
Oh, okay.
Professor Dave relies on debating people who utilize fallacy just as much as he does, rather than pointing them out.
Why didn't you ask him that question, given that I run a debate show? Where you are asking me that question because you've just walked in, right? So why can't he do the same? Know what I mean? No answer to that. Yeah, exactly. Just out of interest, when's Simon Dan going to appear in public? Like I did a couple of days ago. Anybody know when Simon Dan's going to be doing that? Or Professor Dave, when's Dave's next public appearance? Does Dave give public appearances that we can just turn up and have a little heckle? No? Anybody let me know when Craig, Fight the Flat Earth's next making a public appearance? Does Craig make public appearances? Has he made public appearances for us to go and talk to him? Anybody? Anybody at all? Mattoon, does he make public appearances that we can turn up and have a little chat with him? Has he done that? Anybody? Don't seem to be getting any
No,
answers to these questions. Well, do let me know. Do let me know when Dan makes his next public appearance.
I don't see what for. To tell us you and your reference frames have been ruined.
Yeah, he can turn up in public and tell us how little Coriolis the globe would have, given that the reference frames are ruined, right, Dan? That's why Dan will never appear in public and claims as a lie to never debate in spite of debating me on Twitter. That's why you got to lie. You got to lie to Glurf. You certainly won't be making any public appearances. Dan's an abject coward. Conspiracy Cats, is he going to make a public appearance? You can give me a flat earth in person. Tell me about that container we need for gas pressure. Yeah, why don't these guys make public appearances? Anybody got an answer to that?
Because they already conceded.
And there's numerous
Much
examples of
ego.
anti-flat earthers liking comments referring to your name, so they know who you are. Even at the big ones, like YouTubers like Real Nuclear Physicist, And even the ballers who just cover the subject, so they'll know who you are because they've liked comments with your name in, but yet they don't turn up here.
No, the latest claim is that I'm in cahoots with this server.
Juicy.
Well, I can clear that one up for everyone because I'm the one that organised your appearance.
Sorry, do I run this server or have any interjection whatsoever in its management or any activity whatsoever?
No, not at all. I invited you here.
Well, apparently they don't like having the relinquishment of being able to claim that I can mute people when I run my show from the Flat Earth Debate server, which is also not mine. But I do have a lot more control in it. For instance, moderation abilities, which I do not have here. But it's claimed that I'm in cahoots and this is basically my server, and that's why they can still claim that the mute button's a reasonable response. So just so you know, because that's definitely not going to ever land on my doorstep, but it is an affront to you, the team that runs this server that I have no association with beyond being a guest here on a Friday at the server's invitation.
Well, yes, I confirm Nathan has no moderation powers here.
No, it's a neutral platform that discusses other subjects, not just Flat Earth. It's one of the subjects that gets discussed on this platform I have absolutely no control over whatsoever. But of course, that takes away their excuse that it's just me and my mute button, doesn't it? Similarly, when I'm out doing public appearances, which none of these abject cowards do, it would seem, I'm been met with total silence when asking when their next one will be. None of them do them, it seems. Well, isn't that interesting? Yeah, what's that? I've got a mute button, I'm a coward, yet here I am on a public server I have no association with beyond being a guest here regularly. But I've got a mute button, have a lads. That excuse is
Are you
wearing
a
a bit
Glober?
thin. Wearing thin, lads, just so you know. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat. That's where their ball religion came from. They should be thanking us for giving them the advanced knowledge in their religious belief of being on a ball. You'd think they'd thank us.
Well, I think regardless of what we confirm here, we know they're going to continue with their stories. They've got to try and believe they've had some win somewhere, somehow.
They being the very, very small minority of people that are extremist ball-believing zealots. They don't make up the mass population, as I'm slowly finding out on another platform, again, that I utilise to spread the good word of how Earth is measured for ball believers to believe in a ball. Very informative if you're a heliocentrist religious zealot. You get to find out where your ball originated. That would be flat Earth measurements.
Well, you think the majority of people on the planet are flat earthers?
Planet Earth.
Oh, you get what I mean. You believe the majority of the people are flat earthers?
Absolutely not. They're all, by default, flat earthers. They're all dwelling atop a flat plane that's measured flat to give them a belief that they live on a sphere. But most people are indoctrinated into the sphere that came from the flat Earth measurements.
Regarding censorship, sorry, maybe over.
Hold on, just that Nate guy, please.
I was just curious if you thought. Sorry, let me swallow.
No worries.
Curious if you thought that the majority of people know the Earth is flat, or the majority of people know the Earth is a globe. What side do you think has the majority of people? 'Cause
Nobody.
It sounds like.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It sounds like you believe that the majority of people believe the Earth is flat.
I didn't mean to
Correct.
give that impression. I got you. I can understand your question now.
Okay.
No, I absolutely don't want to give off that impression. A further, even smaller minority of people are the ones that know it's flat. I'm amongst those. In the smallest of minority of minorities. But the majority of people don't know they're on a ball, as you stated, just to correct that. They believe they're on a ball based on the idea that they're on a ball given to them by the Roman Catholic Church 500 years ago when they put a ball in motion around the sun based on angle measurements to stars off a flat plane. That's the reality of the situation.
First Christianity, now flat Earth. What didn't those Romans do?
Well, they say all roads lead to Rome, but we say all roads lead to a flat Earth.
Damn.
Well, isn't this fun? This is a lot more relaxing than I intended. I'm mentally frazzled. I've burnt the candle at both ends this entire week, and now I'm really feeling it.
So how did your lives go, Nathan? I haven't had a chance to catch up. I don't even know if you've got it out yet.
What out? Sorry.
Your meet and greet in person.
Oh, went great. Lots of lovely people. It was really diverse. So the crowd was a mixed bag. Everyone from someone who we believe attends this server, a ball believer, all the way through to the spouse of a admittedly keen flat earther that looked like she didn't want to be there, and everything in between. So as after I'd arrived and other guests were arriving, I was glad handing them all and finding out their backstory and what their arguments were. So I got a really good idea of what the crowd was like. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, nice. Glad to hear it was successful.
It was a massive inconvenience and a huge pain in the arse and utterly exhausting, and I probably wouldn't do it again, if I'm honest. But the actual bit between getting there and leaving was great. You know, the meeting people and pressing the flesh, and that was great. Like I say, all the people that were there were really nice. There was one point where this, I don't know if she hears this, but she may not, slightly elderly lady with a husband who's got a big bushy white beard, right? Now he's laser focused on what I'm saying, but at various points, not to put too fine a point on it, she looked like she might nod off if I didn't get her attention, if you know what I mean. So at some point, I think when I'm at the stage of this presentation that I'd kind of got various lines that I could go along, so I'd got all sorts of different ideas that I could go off on if the crowd was permitting, but because it was so diverse, I kind of jumped between quite complex aspects of the subject and quite simplistic ones. So I thought when I get to the next simplistic aspect, I'm just going to see if I can grab her attention and like look her in the eye, just to see if I can, you know, engage her in this bit because it's more easy to take on board. And eventually I catch this woman's eye, and she's suddenly like, oh my God, I'm being stared at by the guy on the stage. I better look like I'm paying attention. So from that point till the end of the presentation, you know, she's paying attention. And literally everybody else in the crowd was very, very engaged, which is partially, you know, down to me. I'm not going to brag, but me getting up to them up close and personal before starting was a good way of getting them to all engage with what I'm talking about once I've asked them their name and found out their backstory. Other than her, she came after I'd started, or while things were getting started, if you know what I mean. So at the beginning, I'm like, who's had a personal hello from me? And most of them are like, yeah. And I'm like, raise your hand if you haven't. And there was like a few stragglers that I hadn't actually got to say, what's your name? How come you're here? Oh, right, you like this videographer. Okay. Have you watched the Flat Earth debate? What do you think of it? I didn't get to do any of that with a few of them, but the majority, 80%, I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nathan, how often do you get accused of being a CIA agent?
I don't think I've ever been accused of being a CIA agent. That's a really weird... Is it Sir Turtle? Is that your name?
Yes.
Sorry, that was a weird question. I don't think I've ever been accused of that. What a weird question.
I'm here for the weird ones.
Fair enough. Never, not to my knowledge. If somebody corrects me on that, then fine, I'll take it on the chin, but not to my recollection. I once republished a video made by another videographer, that is to say I mirrored a video, where they accused Eric Dubay of being a CIA agent about 10 years ago when I first got into this subject. And in that video, he went through his interactions with Eric Dubay and his exposure to Eric Dubay of the Flat Earth Library and much of the information that Eric Dubay leaned on after he had exposed him to this information. And in that particular video, he did actually claim that Eric was a CIA shill from memory. Again, this is a very long time ago. I can ask why you would ask that, though. Is that something that you're pondering? Is the shills amongst us?
No. Just
Tom.
curious.
Curious how many times I might have been asked. Okay.
Well, if nobody's asked it, it's a good sign, right?
I couldn't care if everybody was asking all day long, to be honest. Would it make any difference?
Not for you.
They're saying there could be a perception to the audience. I'm reading between the lines now. It's not biting. Perhaps that's what it meant, that there could be a perception to the audience if it was said often enough. Maybe. Again, it wouldn't really matter. I'd probably lean into it if that happened. I'd be like, yeah, I am. I mean, no, I'm not. I even tried to instigate it once and suggest in a subtle way that Dave Weiss was like the head of the organisation, but it was only ever phrased in that way to sort of hint at the idea that there was some structure. I'm doing it at the moment, but with a slightly different spin on it. So when I'm on Omi TV, what I'll often do is connect to it after my show's finished, and the panel, as the audience can currently see or whatever on G+, are still hanging around. I'll start making those videos. But occasionally the G+ panel will pipe up, and I'll call them, quote, my producers. Now, they're not producing jack. In fact, quite the opposite. They're sometimes causing a bit of chaos that causes a bit of disruption in my production of those videos. But that's what I call them, to sort of to be suggestive to the person I'm talking to, right? That's the idea. But it's the same when I used to infer, not say, but or say explicitly, but infer in a subtle way that we were part of a dodgy organisation with Dave Weiss at the helm. But yeah, we've kind of encouraged people to suggest that just for the fun of it.
I mean, we get to the point where it's kind of undeniable that there are like pawns in place around us. So it's good to be at that spot where we get to notice that, because it's so obvious that we're kind of right.
Talking of agents, right? I'm just you sort of rack your brains for things that might be an example. And the first thing that came to my mind just now while I was thinking about it was about, I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago, when I was a rep and I was flying all over the world, right? And sometimes your accommodation would be arranged by the person you were meeting. Now, some of these people were living in palaces, enormous houses, often surrounded by poverty, I might add. But nevertheless, the super elite, the super rich, and they'd put you up in some absolutely glorious 7-star hotel. Now, because I was there on business, I'd be there in a really sharp suit with my hand-cut Italian shoes and my Rolex, and I'd look the business, smell the business. I was skinny, I was, everything was great. And what I'd do is I'd be like standing outside a hotel and I'd see a Lamborghini or something brand new that was unreleased. And you'd be like, oh my God. You take a picture of it with me standing by it or whatever, and the whole giant hotel as the backdrop. And you put it on Facebook. And at the time I was posting it, right, when you're pressing the send button, I was sitting in my suit thinking, I am basically James Bond, right? I'm flying over to these, Far Eastern and wherever, it doesn't really matter where, these countries all over the world to meet what could be, in some people's eyes, perceived as Bond villains, right? And I'm there in my suit and I've got to schmooze them and selling my wares, ultimately speaking, as the rep for the company. But I'm, looking at their studios or looking at their rigs or whatever I'm doing. But it really did feel like a very James Bond type lifestyle. Not that I'm spying anybody, but you know what I'm getting at. There's all of the martinis and the poshness and the fast cars, one of which I was driving when I was in the UK, not when I was out and about in the rest of the world. But my point is that was one of those times, I will get to the conclusion of this story, I'm sorry it's rambling a bit, that I actually felt like, wow, I am like James Bond here, right? And you'd post a picture of the Lamborghini with the hotel, and it would get 3 likes, right? Then the next post would be, I had eggs and bacon for breakfast this morning. 437 likes from next man in line, right? And you're like, what? I'm like, look, how much more like James Bond could I possibly be in my current lifestyle? 2 likes. No one gives a toss. Right, yeah, sat here. I homeschool my kids. I've got a very humble life. I earn a pittance, just about cover the mortgage. And I'm being asked, how often do you get called a secret agent? You're like, what is going on? I talk about how Earth's measured. What? What's going on? It is amusing. Or at least it is to me. For everyone else, it stuns them to silence.
Nathan, we had someone ask if you were single. I think he's got the shines for you.
Single. I'm married with 2 kids. You know, I had a little sods making a load of noise on the other side of this door.
He's willing to accept that arrangement.
Well, I'm definitely not. I love my wife dearly, as does she me. No sharing. Again, weird. This is not the day I expected. Such is life.
We've spent the last couple weeks hearing from people, you know, why don't you go to Antarctica? And we've had to learn about what they're doing and how they're playing their game. And by this point, I think we're all realizing that, oh, we are just watching a game. We are just watching an op, you know. And I think we're all just kind of chilled out about it now.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And where in Antarctica are these people going? Antarctica is a big continent.
Yeah, good for them. Reminded me of something else. So, speaking of my wife and being single, when I met her, or when I very first met her, I was in what I considered to be a very nice car, right? It was an S4 or a DTM 220 to be more precise, but nevertheless, a very nice car, and it was new. And I picked her up. We went out, had drinks, sat in a nice field and shot the breeze, had a date basically. And then I took her home in this car. And for whatever reason, the discussion of the car, because it was new, came up. I was like, do you like it? I kind of asked her. And she's like, it's all right. And I'm like, what? You don't like my 50 grand Retmobile? Hello? Okay. Well, what do you drive? And she's like, I drive a brand new TT. Now, by chance, that car we still have and still drive with 2 kids in the back of it. Now it's a complete crap box. But at the time, it was absolutely, well, I'll say it was brand new. Maybe it was a year old or something at the time. But, you know, it was her nice, better than mine sports car that looked far nicer, was far prettier, and was probably about as fast as the car that I was in. I'm like, oh, okay. One of those nonchalant things that she happened to not mention, that she, even though I was a reasonably successful rep at the time, she happened to be tooling around a better car than me. Well, okay. Sorry, I should be talking about this. She made me reminisce, asking if I'm single and etc., etc. I'll try and get on topic. Earth's flat.
It's measured like that.
All right, so he replied, so you're saying there's a chance?
We covered this on QE's show. That way they take something that is described as being so unbelievably, incredibly unlikely, and it's you're saying there's a chance then. So if it's extremely statistically unlikely, then there's a small statistical likelihood, right? And you're like, well, yeah, well, let's turn that into a positive. Well, there's a very small chance this is definitely going to happen then. Because look, there's a chance of it. Therefore, given the vastness of space, we're definitely going to have aliens, as an example. Should do my spiel. I'm getting complacent. So, for anybody who's new, I'm here as a guest on a Friday because for the last quite a few months now, we've been punting our front foot forward idea when it comes to being a flat earther, which is to say, rather than defending the feast of nonsense garbage and responding to false dichotomies and burden-of-proof reversal fallacies. Say it like it is. Earth's measured flat. That's where their bull comes from should you end up reacting to their positive claims. But there's no need to be in this mindset where we're explaining what their geometric horizon does or how things would work on a ball. We're beyond that. Earth's measured flat. That's where their measurements for their ball also come from. So long as you understand that and you can move forward on the front foot and not be burdened by their claims that fail, everyone will do a lot better in the subject. Hence our repeated engagement with you guys. However, also, I'll be going live in about 10 minutes, so please don't swear. That's all I ask. Have fun. Try and engage with the other people around you. Get some phone numbers. Maybe you'll make some friends.
Have you ever been to Iceland?
No, I don't believe I have. Not many rich people who want to run a PA or own a house big enough to put a giant hi-fi in. So no. Maybe there is, but not that I know of. I do
Why
know.
is there a 24-hour sun there as well?
Sorry. Go on, Sensual.
So why is he asking? Is there a 24-hour sun there as well?
There is, but
no, but there is snow, maybe.
Yeah, there's snow. But you don't get to assume antipodal positioning if you just take the 24-hour sun in the north, do you? You can't assume that you've travelled to the bottom of the ball by default, aka begging the question that you're on a ball before you observe anything. If you just look at the 24-hour sun in the north, nobody's going to get the affirming the consequent when you beg the question of antipodal positioning. Whereas if you go, quote, down to Antarctica, what, down to the bottom of a ball, you're assuming, before you do anything. That's why they've got to go to Antarctica, so that they can beg the question of antipodal positioning. We've been saying it for about 6 months.
Yeah, but south is not down, though. South in real life is horizontal.
Yeah.
Same way as north.
Yeah, unless you assume antipodal positioning by begging the question and dressing that up in a false dichotomy and masking that with affirming the consequent for both flat and globe assumptions when suggesting that if you assume you go to the bottom of a ball, by default, before you've done anything, then you make an observation of the sun observation will affirm that you've assumed correctly that you're on the bottom of a ball by default before you've done anything. That's how the fallacy works. Like I say, we've been saying the same thing in 1,000 different ways for a quite prolonged period.
We've got about 3 months left till it happens. You might want to start creating automated messages. It's going to get boring.
Yeah. What more can we say on it? For us, it's going to get boring because for everyone else, right, they can just ignore us. We point out the fallacious reasoning and the assumption that you're trying to prove by assuming it's already the case. No one wants to hear that, so they're going to be like, yeah, why aren't you going down there? Like, all I now do is repost my video to them as a response. Would I go down and commit fraud by claiming I'm doing science when I affirm the consequent of antipodal positioning followed by an observation that may or may not occur? No, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll get an address to some of the concerns if people really want me to go. It's like, well, I haven't declined. I've asked if I'm going to be taking part in a fraud that's claimed to be an experiment. That's what I've asked. I don't know if that's been answered. Certainly hasn't been answered for me personally. But, you know, that's what I've asked in response to being invited.
I'm going.
Good for you.
Yeah, guess why I'm going? Let me tell you why. Because it's free. So if Jaren's there, I can then ask him the secret information that I would normally have to pay $400 for, and then it's all free. Bam.
So you're saving $400 straight away. Man, you are savvy.
Yeah, but what if the secret information is about his cat or something mundane? And you've gone all the way there for that.
Yeah, I read the blurb about what's behind the paywall, and it says you won't be sorry. And if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for her. So it must be good.
Wait, is this a consultation ad or a Durex ad?
I'm not quite sure, but it says I won't be sorry and I'll be happy with the results.
Okay then. Well, I'm pleased to hear it. And you'll get that information for free if you go to Antarctica for 30k. Sounds like good value.
Well, look, I'm not saying that Jaren will just tell me, so I'll obviously have to kidnap him and take him to the extreme cold and say, you're not getting any of this warm coffee unless you tell me that super secret that you normally charge $400 for.
I mean, if that's how you seek value, then that's your bag, you know. More power to you, I guess.
And you'll get to see Will Duffy's beautiful smile.
What's more likely to happen is they'll offer you the trip. You'll think you're going for free. You'll go there, pay the $400 to get the information, and then they'll send you the bill when you get home.
Yeah, if I absolutely despised my opponent and had a losing argument, I'd want to send him to Antarctica too. Is everybody ready? Is everybody excited? You got some good questions? You lively
Yes,
lot.
Nathan, we do.
You do?
Did you like the movie Capricorn 1?
What, basically telling people how they fake the moon landing?
Yes. Well, did they?
Well, I want to know how much sun protected they're going to go for that 24-hour sun.
$24.
Yeah, if you expect it to have sunlight for 24 hours, I mean, I would be concerned with the sun protector. Just to make sure we're taking enough. The logistics of it, maybe a couple of sombreros.
Yeah, I would think so. Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, Brian's Logic, and a whole bunch of people in the politics server and the Flat Earth debate section of it. So welcome, one and all.
Yo, yo.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mum. I gave a little disclaimer before we went live saying, you know, we're here to tell you that the Earth's measured flat. Please don't swear. So the minute we're live, the first is, oh, hello, Mum. Is your mum actually watching?
Yeah, I told her I'm live.
Really? Okay. Well, thank you for sharing the show, as I did already in the call to the action. Please share the show if you haven't done so already. This guy shared it with his mum, as I suggest all of you would do. Yeah, following on from our preamble, and as we've now got a live audience, we're here to tell you Earth's measured flat. That's where the ball came from. Space is fake. There is no vacuum of space. Hopefully that'll generate some discussion and discourse. We shall see. How are you, Brian? You vanished yesterday.
It is, and I can't speak at the moment. I'm kind of driving.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll speak on your behalf and say that Brian's been on a bit of a quest to try and get official pitch data delivered to him in light of a journey to Antarctica. So Brian's been requesting this information, given that obviously travelling to the bottom of a sphere that they assume is antipodal would require some evidence to actually back that up, rather than it just being an assumption in an affirming the consequent fallacy. So in light of that, Brian's been trying to chase up the pitch data. And at a live event I did a couple of days ago, one of the participants, or guests I should say, was very keen for me to note that fact. So, you know, he was in some respects more knowledgeable than me, as Barry, I think his name was. And certainly with the slope intercept formula, he took me back in terms of his exceptional knowledge. But when it got to Brian's pitch data argument, I sort of not fobbed him off, but went, yeah, it's an excellent argument, it's really good. He's like, no, this is something that you really need to focus in on on the show, and he was keen to get my ear in that regard. Now, given he demonstrated such an exemplary knowledge up to that point, because he was quite an unassuming guy, I did very much take on board what he said when he said it to me, and made sure I was taking note of it. So I passed this on to Brian, but I just thought I'd drop that in because I was hoping to discuss it with him. But I'm happy to sort of give all sides while Brian's tied up.
Well, what it is I asked Will Duffy. I can't do anything about the noise. I asked Will Duffy. I made a video, sent it to him. And my point to Will Duffy was this: that why are you going? If you say that you want to spend money for truth, to find out the true geometry of where we live, then getting official pitch data from a couple of airline companies, reputable airline companies, preferably the likes of Qantas, Lufthansa, etc., then would be the way to do it. You would probably have to spend maybe only about as much, if not less money. You won't have to go anywhere. No one will have to leave their families and their jobs. Nobody is going to get thrown off of an ice wall. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with all that. It's much, much better. It's a much better plan. And he sent me back an email requesting that I concede to certain things before he even watches the video, because he knew what was in the video. Right? He knew what I was proposing, because he was aware of it, or made aware of it, and consequently he's having nothing to do with it. And I've posted it on different people's videos when they've spoke with him, people like Wixit and other people, and it's been completely ignored. But the guy you spoke to at the event the other night, he made a point of stressing to you how important it was, and there was a commercial pilot there who stressed to you how important it was, because it proves or disproves the geometry. It's that simple. And I know what it's going to prove. They all know what it's going to prove, because every commercial pilot I spoke to on the opposing side, including Wolfie, had to admit that they keep a constant above horizontal pitch. The reason they do that because they won't generate enough positive lift to oppose 100% of the weight of the plane if they don't do that. So they have to keep an above horizontal pitch, which means they never break horizontal. So if you're flying from London to Los Angeles, which is 11 hours at cruising altitude, you're never dipping below horizontal.
Right.
That's what the pitch data shows.
That
Now,
pilot
go
was
off because it's noisy. Yeah.
Well, when it was him, that particular pilot, ex-pilot, because he's a bit older, was specifically referencing the horizontal 4 pitch and the need to have a horizontal 2 reference, because if you haven't, you've got a void opening up ahead of you, which obviously you don't have. But what I also discussed with that guy, I know you're somewhere you perhaps can't talk so easily, Brian, so I'm going to maybe skirt the subject slightly by discussing what else he talked about, which was me asking him, would you have got fired if you'd have talked about this? Because I think he'd come to this knowledge of flat Earth after being a pilot. Or I didn't actually establish that, but I got the impression by the way the conversation went. And so I asked him, would you have got fired? And he said, yeah, you would have done, or he would have done, because there's an expectation that you won't bring the company into disrepute by talking about something controversial. So if you're suddenly discussing something that is generally frowned upon in society, regardless of if it's right or wrong, that would be so frowned upon that it would lose you your job, or highly likely to lose your job. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he made it clear that that would not be the thing to do if you wanted to keep your job as a pilot.
Yeah, I just want to add that he was stressing talking about it, making videos about it, and going out there publicly as a commercial pilot.
Yes,
while representing that company. He's not speaking about the pitch data. Pitch data, that's just data. You can't get fired for data.
Let me clarify that. Sorry.
Just in case anyone mixed that up.
Yeah, well, I should have really put a bigger gap between those two things. They were separate subjects that I was discussing with the same guy. Yeah, so it's not like he's attaching the pitch data to that particular statement about getting sacked. Those two things are very different subjects that I had with the same guy who happened to be a pilot. Yeah, 737s. Yeah. I did tell you straight after, and I can't remember if that is actually the plane he said he flew, because I said, oh, you fly jumbos, and then he gave me the number of the plane that he did used to fly, and it was the next size down. He's like, no, not jumbos. He was like, okay, right. Obviously, I'm not so familiar with these planes that what he described me as a 200-seat plane. I think it was a 737, but it absolutely isn't a jumbo, and he made sure to correct me on that. No, that's not a jumbo. I'm like, okay, no worries. But it's an enormous plane. It's got 200 seats. But nevertheless, anyway, that's a different story. Anyway.
Yeah, but I just want to point out that people over the years got hoodwinked with that nonsense. Like he's just trying to be honest, saying, I wasn't flying a Boeing 747 or whatever, or an A380. That's all he's saying. But it doesn't matter what plane you fly. The rules are the same. Lift is the same. Aerodynamics is the same. To oppose 100% of the weight of the plane, you must fly with the chord line of the wings above horizontal. The only plane that flies with the nose below horizontal at times is it's a B-25 bomber, because they're designed that way to have the nose down, but not the chord line of the wings. The chord line of the wings is still above horizontal. The nose is only down on the B-25 bomber, because they need to be able to see where they're dropping what they're going to drop, which is...
Hang on, I actually happen to be familiar with that. The view from the cockpit is lower by the way they've built the cockpit to be in that position. But does that actually mean that the nose is actually flying below the horizontal, or is it just that the positioning
not
of the
exactly,
cockpit?
no. It's just down it's just down from the plane, from the fuselage of the plane. It doesn't mean that it's actually always below horizontal or
That's what I thought.
Horizontal.
Yeah, that's what I thought with my very, very limited
like with Concorde. Concorde had a nose that was pointed down, but that didn't mean that the nose was below the horizontal line. But it's the chord line of the wings that matter, because they determine. It's the chord line of the wings that determine, because that's where the lift is. That they determine the pitch, the chord line, and if the chord line has to be above horizontal to oppose the weight.
I'm just realising why you've dropped that disclaimer in, because some tosser has used that as a defence, haven't they, Brian? I'm just guessing, but am I right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I knew about it before they even came at me with that. The same with gliders and stuff as well. A lot of gliders will have a nose down position, but their chord lines have to be above horizontal. Yeah,
right.
It's not even that the noses are always below horizontal. It's just that because they're slightly bent down a lot on some, maybe not all gliders, but some gliders. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's
responses.
just stupid. It makes me roll my eyes because I can now picture the bleeding discussion that you've had, and you're like, is this you? It's clutching at straws. There's no other way to describe that, is there? Anyway, I'll just do a quick shout out to Jardo. Neil, get ready. This is your 3-minute warning. That was about 2 minutes ago, Neil.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Yeah, this is for the Discord benefit. Neil's my panel member that's currently begging for a membership. Go to AI, sorry.
Oh, he's begging for a membership.
Yeah. Neil is.
If you want to call it begging, I like the excitement of trying to get it.
How dare you? I did not say I did not say begging. Begging. It's a very big difference. Speaking of which, smash the super chat. Hit me up on PayPal as a Ko-Fi link. I've got no shame in begging.
Pow. Right, so we got a pitch above horizontal, right? Cool. Then what?
That's it. Horizontal has to be horizontal, like my newfound pilot friend was saying. Otherwise, you've got a void opening up ahead of you. You know, it's just cut and dry. Earth's flat.
Okay, so how does the plane gauge whether it's horizontal or not to know whether it's pitching above horizontal or not? Gyro, okay. So you need to know what type of gyro it's using and what method it uses to data log the horizontal position, because if you don't have the attitude data, all it's going to say is horizontal. And then someone could just argue, well, you don't have the attitude data, so you don't actually know that the plane was actually taking an arc path. So it's not really that much.
Well, you do because they don't break the horizontal. That's all they can't because of lift. The whole point of planes, the way they're designed, is they can't fly with a low horizontal pitch and produce adequate lift to oppose weight. So it doesn't matter what way they want to argue it, it won't be an arced path.
Further
It can't be. It's impossible.
And further to that, you need the horizontal to reference in the first place. Brian's taking it one step into their territory to do this. I'm not or wouldn't be cutting it off at the knees by saying, well, what are we going to reference again? That's it. That's game over right there. But yeah, we're just toying with them. Toying with them. That's it.
That's a fair point, but it just ends up with the same thing, which they would just say you're just assuming what horizontal is, because without the attitude data, you can't be sure.
No, it's referencing the horizontal.
That is pitch data.
That is exactly right. So they can say that.
No. Pitch data is not attitude data.
No, it's pitch with respect to horizontal.
Right. So what do pendulous vanes do?
Keep the gyro metaphorically
They're
caged.
a weight that keeps they're a weight. They're a damper to stop precession.
Yeah, it's a way of keeping it permanently caged. I think that's the word you'd use if you're doing it manually on the ground with a manual gyro or whatever you want to call it. What's the name for a normal mechanical gyro? Is that what you call it? Mechanical. Without pendulous vanes, you just cage the thing on the ground and then spin it up. Whereas with pendulous vanes, it's keeping it.
Then you would have if you had a free gyro spun up on the ground, right, and you had the log of what the gyro is doing, then you'd have attitude data. If you don't have that directly and you only have the baseline horizontal and the pitch they have above their baseline horizontal, someone could just argue that you don't have the correct data.
Yeah, you could argue that correct. That's
and
why
then
Brian's
you could say
absolutely correct. Let me just agree with you. Let me just agree with you. But that's why Brian's asking for it. Correct, absolutely. When you step into that realm, and that is the objection, that's where Brian is doing precisely that, though, isn't he? That's the point.
Yeah, but if they give you pitch data, which only references horizontal, but doesn't directly reference the gyro's attitude, it's inconclusive.
Okay. Would you agree, Brian?
No, it's not inconclusive. That's an attempt to have an attack on it. When they're see this pitch data, that's also connected to altitude, which means they're holding a constant altitude and a constant pitch above horizontal. Now, if that horizontal is going down the way or going up the way, then they won't be holding a constant altitude. your argument is going nowhere. I understand that you want to have an argument.
Brian,
I
stop,
understand that.
stop, please,
but it's not going
please,
to
Brian.
work.
You can't conclude and then start telling him his argument.
Why are you stepping in when I'm not finished talking?
Because you're telling him his argument's going nowhere, then he's stepping over. Then he's stepping over you. You're gonna drop that in.
So halfway through the argument, you switched the words you were using from pitch to attitude, so you messed up.
He didn't do
I
that.
didn't. You brought in attitude. I didn't bring it in.
No.
Data will be
the last sentence before you interrupted, Nathan, halfway through he switched from pitch to attitude.
Data? What is the attitude data?
No, it
What's
isn't.
that based on? Is it the chord line of the wings?
He's asking you what the attitude data is based on, AI.
Oh my goodness, dude! It's based on the gyro.
Is it based off the chord line of the wings and their pitch above or below that horizontal made by the gyro?
I could care less about that. I only care about the gyro being spun up
really care
and its
about it, but
relationship
that's
with
Hold on, Brian.
itself.
Hold on. I want to hear AI's response. Go ahead, AI.
I care about when the gyro was spun up on the ground and its relationship to itself and nothing else. That's all I care about.
But that isn't what he asked you, though. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. I said that attitude is based off the chord line of the wings and their pitch either above or below the horizontal that's made by the gyro.
Go ahead, AI.
That only matters if the gyro is maintaining horizontal the entire time, which you'd only would know if you had the gyro data, not the plane's orientation from the pitch, because the pitch goes off the horizontal baseline from the gyro. So if you're missing the gyro attitude, you don't have a conclusive argument.
Yeah, we do have a conclusive argument because it's not.
I mean, you can think that all
Hold on, AI. Hold on.
So what direction is the horizontal going? So what direction is the horizontal? Are you saying the horizontal could be going up at an angle or down at an angle in relation to what? The horizontal. How are they going to hold a constant attitude?
What are the pendulous veins?
Hold on. You got your question. Hold on, Brian. And I got to reiterate your question. Are you suggesting that horizontal?
No, this is coming from somewhere else, Nathan. You're not aware of. This is coming from an interaction me and this man had there recently.
Gotcha. Okay, both of you just calm down for a second. Both of you just stop for 1 second, please. Just both of you for 1 second. You did put a question to him, though. You asked him if horizontal's deviating from horizontal. That was a good enough summary of what you asked him. Now he can respond to it.
No, I'm not going to respond to anything. I'm going to wait for him to apologize for bringing anything personal to this argument when all we're talking about is the facts so far.
Oh, I'm sorry to be sure.
Thanks.
To be sure, I'm very sorry. There you go.
You won't be getting any apology.
The other guy.
Oh, right. Sorry. I was kind of pretending to be him just to move things along, but that's okay.
I mean, think about it. We were only talking facts back and forth, arguing points and contentions. No one brought up anything personal. All of a sudden, something personal is brought up.
What was that?
So apologize.
What was personal? What did he do?
He accused me of having my arguments for personal motivations rather than the facts.
Oh, I must have missed that. Alrighty then.
Hey, my argument is absolutely worthwhile. Okay, has nothing to do with anything personal. For goodness sakes.
Well, it's been noted. We've got it noted. Good. Obviously, Brian doesn't agree, but it doesn't mean it hasn't been noted.
What do pendulous veins do? They reorient the gyro to the quote-unquote alleged vector of down, correct? So if you had a gyro...
is a damper. The damper.
Oh, my goodness, dude. How about I make my argument and then you critique it? How about that?
I know it was rhetorical, AI, but you did say it's a damper because you intended it to be rhetorical.
Okay,
He didn't.
that's cool story. Yep. What does the damper do for the gyro, please?
It holds the vertical, keeps it vertical. The damper, the whole point of it is to keep it vertical. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You know why?
Exactly what I said. Down.
Do you know why it has to do that though?
So
they can push the plane beyond the parameters of the gyro, and that can cause errors. So if they're doing a tight turn in a holding pattern, for example, that can cause deviation in the gyro because it's pushing beyond the limit of the gyro. So to correct that, they have pendulous vanes.
Absolutely. And what is the pendulous vane's goal? To orient the gyro to down, correct?
In an extreme circumstance like a holding pattern that's got a tight turn, That's where you'd have errors that would need to be corrected by pendulous veins. That's why they're there.
Right, that would be extreme, right? But if you had gradual. Okay, hey, here. How about this?
I'm going to be
you guys
handing
just
back to
talk to each
Brian.
other about what my argument is, and I'll just listen. How about that?
Yes, I'm going to let you. Then I'm going to hand back to Brian because I've kind of stole his thunder now, which just wasn't my intention. But I'll be handing back to him after you go. Go ahead, AI.
No, I said I just want to listen to you guys talk about what you think my argument is, and then I'll just listen, and then tomorrow I'll tell you if you got it right.
Fine. I'm going to do the best of summarising it when you two start getting at each other's throats, and I've got no position either way. I'm just trying to summarise each of your position to each other so it's kept civil. Go ahead, AI, if you have a further point. If not, Brian, feel free. Go ahead, AI.
Yeah, I got a point. So the pendulous vein corrects constantly, attempts to correct as best it can the gyro to down. So if that's competing against the plane's orientation relative to the attitude of the spin up, then within that plausibility is the idea that as it's taking a slow arced path, it will constantly be readjusting to horizontal, just as the Globers imagine their horizontal is constantly adjusting. You'll always have a pitch above that, and therefore the pitch data won't be relevant. You need the attitude data as well. So you need the pitch data is not the complete image of what's happening. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it is the complete image of what's happening. Even a commercial pilot said it to Nathan the other night. Now, further than that, they're not using mechanical gyros alone. They're using light gyros, right? Fiber optic ring laser gyros. And they actually have 3 of them in the INS, which is the inertial navigation system, right? And they use the inertial navigation system and everything that shows them, right? The 3 fiber ring laser gyros have 3 orientations in the INS that accounts for pitch, roll, and yaw. And the whole purpose of the INS is that it records the journey. So if they lose GPS and every other radar or anything else they might have, they can refer to the INS, and that will allow the plane to fly to where it needs to go because it remembered the journey. So they don't need mechanical gyros at all.
Right. So if you get the measurement on the ground and then take your path and you retro-engineer the plane's orientation for all the turns that the machine registered, the correct word for that is called attitude. So I rest my case.
No, you don't rest your case, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to.
I rest my case. You're
Hold on, stop. Right, hold on, Brian.
Somehow correct.
Hold on.
Somehow correct.
Hold on, please. I've got to get control, otherwise he's going to rumpus you, and you're going to rumpus him, and so it'll go on. No, if he
I'll be stepping away for a sec. Back in a moment. I have to step away.
No worries. If at any point someone says I rest my case, that is to say that is the conclusion. It's his full stop. He's perfect. You can't just say no, you don't rest your case there. No, you might have a rebuttal, but he's putting a fine point on his argument. He's perfectly entitled to do so. You can't just take it away from him. He is resting his case on that point, and yeah, that's how it's going to be taken. I'd be fuming if that was me. I'm sorry to side with you, or I should be sorry to side with you, but to be slightly biased when you've made your point and you want to make absolutely clear that that is your point that you're making, and you go something to the effect of that I rest my case in your example, and someone says no, you're not. No, I am. I have. That's what I just did. So undermining your own out me, it'll just piss me off. Anyway.
Why are you not shouting out the gifts that Jado gifted?
Because there's a discussion going on, Neil. Yeah, that was the conclusion to it. That was going to be the next thing I did. Total lie. Shout out to Jado for the super chat. Sorry, for gifting memberships. Really appreciate the support. Gifted 10 memberships. Woohoo! There's a load of Omi videos that I've just released.
Which one is I got?
My shout out's being rumpus by Neil. There's a whole bunch of Omi videos if you're a new member that's just been gifted a membership, so you can check those all out. They'll be released to the public later sometime. But yeah, you can check them all out. They've all been done and polished and edited. Thank you for gifting membership, Shadow.
I got one. Thanks, Jado.
Indeedy.
And Brian's right.
Why is Brian right? Summarise both sides of the argument. Go.
He's always right.
It's not summarising both sides of the argument.
They're both talking about the same thing, just giving different names to it. In the end, they agree. AI said that's my point. So they both have the same point. They're just calling it differently.
I don't know if that's the case, but fine. If that's how you perceive it. Anyway, it's obviously something that is important if you're going to be assuming Earth's a ball, which is going to get called out as begging the question fallacy. So therefore, this type of information that's going to validate it as a ball that you're flying around to the bottom of, by assumption, you're going to need to present something. This is what Brian's suggesting you give us.
Exactly, because all horizontals are parallel. So if you're going on a horizontal flight, I mean a level flight, you're flying parallel to the surface.
Which was what the pilot guy said. I mean, I didn't quite follow along closely enough to when Brian said, well, that's what the guy pilot that he was said to Nathan. I don't know if that was strictly true. I can't remember what Brian said he had said. But what he did talk about was flying parallel with a horizontal that can't be avoided opening up ahead of you.
Exactly. It should be pretty much the pitch data. The altitude, the elevation of the airplane, and how level it stays throughout the flight.
Pitch and attitude, says AI.
There you go. But those are technicalities. I'm not a pilot. I wouldn't know the language, but that is pretty much what is requested, isn't it?
Yeah, but just fine. But just so you can absorb it when this does get released, or it's going out live now, aren't we? We're live. Listen back to what AI actually said, though. You're just fobbing it off and going, well, they're basically saying the same thing. Well, no. What else happens in this server? Do you have little jollies? Do you all chit-chat amongst yourselves, generally speaking? Is it ramma-jamma ding-dong? Is it normally completely deserted?
It varies. I mean, it can be really busy and sometimes kind of dead.
Last time I asked, I was told, you should come in a little bit earlier and then you get all the Aussies. So I did exactly that the next visit. And there was a fair few Aussies that are having back and forths with us, like an hour in advance of when I'd normally get here.
Yeah, Aussie hours probably starts a few hours before that, so about 5 p.m. our time. It's usually Aussie hour for a few hours.
Aussie hour.
Yeah, we're taking over.
You already have.
No, there's a strict one in, one out policy with you Australians, to be fair. We're getting overtaken, mate.
That seems reasonable. That's what we did with the Irish.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It does make sense. So you guys are all friends in here? That's kind of what I was fishing for. Is it like a sociable room where you're all chit-chatting?
Yeah, some of us have known each other for about eight years or so now.
Right, Jedi. Yes.
we're all good friends in here, of course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, if there's not much going on, I suppose there's sometimes some discussion, but once we've got people to talk to and hear, it's always on topic.
Well, they're the most heated shows of the week. I mean, there's a slightly smaller than usual audience at the moment. 77 people watching. Thank you very much if you've shared the show. That's probably why there's 77 people. There'd be no one watching if no one shared. So thank you very much if you've shared. But it'd be nice to get a few more people watching. This is typically the part of the week when the most heated discussions take place. So please share the show.
It is Labor Day weekend in the States, so you got a holiday involved here.
Ah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there a limit to how far away the container can be? And I'm not asking you where the container is, if there is a container.
No, there's no limit.
All right. That's all I wanted to ask.
I mean, I could take it as a loaded question, but I don't think it was. But I can't ascribe any information to what the containment would be or where it would be. I just can't answer that. Now, when you say, is there a limit? Well, the only limit would be the system of gas that we are achieving in terms of the amount of volume that could sustain cyclically. Do you know what I mean? You could probably calculate how much area we must have to sustain the cyclical systems that we've got. My God, that was a lot of S's. I did really well. Round of applause for me. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I mean that's why I said it. It wasn't trying to be a loaded question. That's why I stated that like I wasn't asking for where it is. I was just wondering if there's a limit to how far away it is.
A limit is probably the wrong word, because there's going to be potentially a calculable amount that would be suggestible by the systems in place and the amount of produced gases if you were to calculate it. I mean, it would be horrendous to gather all that data. But what I'm saying is, it's not something that you couldn't at least try and get close to figuring out. And by figuring out, I mean measuring quantities of gas production versus how much volume there would have to be to have the various different pressure gradients within the contained system. And by that extension, you could say, well, yeah, there must be a limit in that respect, because if it was double the size, then we wouldn't achieve the same level of gas pressure. We'd be at a different PSI. Just as an example. You know, now normally, because you seem friendly, I perhaps wouldn't have expanded out as much as I have there. But like I say, you already seem to clarify that it wasn't you trying to trap me into saying something that perhaps I shouldn't. You were just being inquisitive.
Yeah, I mean, and this is of course like assuming that the area of the Earth is, we're going off of how much we know there is. Like if there's more area on our Earth that we don't know about, then it would be a different result.
Exactly. So you can only base that calculation on knowing that, well, there must be an extremity limit to be able to calculate it within. Whereas if you never reach that extremity, like in what people claim as a straw man for us, like the edge of the dome or whatever, like in Simpsons, if you can't reach that point, then you can't ascribe a volume. If it just keeps going and going and going and you never reach it, you're like, well, I don't know how much further beyond that would be calculable within this quantity I'm trying to ascribe for how big the containment must be, because you haven't got enough parameters to be able to say that, have you?
And that also like raises the question if there is a point where it can get to like the pressures of what space is considered, so not non-zero pressure, but as you increase in altitude, it'll eventually decrease to space level pressures. I mean, that could be possible if
No, that definitely isn't possible, because that's the second law of thermodynamics violation.
But as you increase in that, like if the container is large enough, then you can have that pressure in it.
No. You have to have the gas pressing on something at some point. There must be containment. Now, if you're saying that, well, we'll make the containment as vast as the heliocentric idea of space, no, because then the gas that we do have at 14.7 psi at ground level would dissipate into that volume. That's what I'm saying. To a certain degree, you can ascribe an amount, but you must know the parameters. Therefore, it's very difficult to say you can even come close to calculating it, because you don't know the outside extremities going forward or out, north, south, east, or west. But when you suggest that, no, I can have this gas pressure gradient dissipate to a vacuum, then that's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, because the gas would fill that vacuum. Now, the fact that we have gradiated pressure doesn't alter that pressure to be gradiated must be contained to form pressure in the first place. If you just extend it out metaphorically, it'll never achieve the pressure.
It's a low pressure. It still has pressure in it. Like there's still a density to the like medium that it's in. Just like how at 10 kilometers the density is like half an atmosphere, and as you go up to 11, it's 0.49 or whatever atmospheres. Like there's still a difference in pressure, but it doesn't all escape to there.
Sure, but within
if you just had
within your scale, you're describing it with sphere-shaped airs. How many sphere-shaped airs we have? So the arbitrary ascribed volume for that convention requires that you assume that you can have sphere-shaped air without containment, just in the very construct of the description of that pressure. that you're
An
using.
atmosphere is just 101 kPa. It's atmosphere just meaning, you know, a value for pressure. The standard 14.7 psi.
There's something you're mixing up there. Within the heliocentric paradigm that we're all fed, we're given the impression that there's this constant smooth decrease in pressure. That's not true at all. 85% of all our air pressure is below cloud level. Cloud level doesn't generally go much higher than 4 or 5 miles, sometimes up to 6. Right. So after that, how can there be a smooth gradient in pressure when the pressure dissipates greatly after that exact point? That's not going to be a smooth. What you're talking about is a calculation based off of a heliocentric belief, not reality. There is a pressure gradient, but it's not a smooth gradient like we are led to believe.
I'm really sorry to do this over the top of your discussion, lads. Shout out to Unitox Femu, who says, celebrating 53. Yippee, yay. Well, happy birthday. Last month was great listening to all your shorts. I'll text you soon with some dinner or lunch event, if you are okay with that. Definitely, Unitox Femu. We've been talking about meeting up for ages, and you're only local, so, man, we should have done it ages ago. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Also, shout out to Theo Megawerty. Attitude. I'm right because super chat. Yeah, right on, Theo. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, air isn't sphere-shaped. We don't have sphere-shaped air. Parts of the convention just brainwash you in the linguistics. But, you know, to ascribe volume, you know, you can do it with conventions that can ascribe the amount of non-containment at the Kármán line and things of that nature. But it's oxymoronic in the descriptions that we currently have for a sphere Earth and a sky vacuum without containment. There is no containment.
So if I change the word atmosphere to atmoplane and it was still the same pressure, would that make you happier?
But to do the calculation, you'd need V. Volume. Where are you going to get that?
Well, you can just use all the other variables and get V. You can solve for V using temperature, pressure, and amount of gas.
Okay, if you say so. What does that alter? To be at pressure, we've got to have containment. We can ascribe numbers to it. So what?
Well, I'm just saying you can use all those variables you'd have, but you'd have to like integrate over the entire Newton's volume, or integrate over the entire Newton area, basically.
You can't solve for V. V has to be known. You can't solve for it.
Yeah, you need to know the volume.
You don't need enough, or you can solve for V using other variables than V.
If you say so.
Okay, what's the V? What is the V then?
That's why I said you have to.
So what is it? If you say you can solve for V, then show me V. V is the size of the container.
Yeah, you can solve for it algebraically.
You got that? How are you doing it? I'm saying no, we need to know it. Brian's saying fine.
So
if you're going to say solve for it, then what are you going to do? Give us the parameters that we already discussed that I said you can't get enough of. Give us them to solve for V. That's what Brian's asking you for.
Yeah, it's Charles' law. It would be V equals NR over P times T.
So where'd you get V?
You're solving for V. You're not using V in the equation. You're solving for V.
How can you solve for V if you're claiming there isn't a V?
I never claimed that there was wasn't or was a V. This is
yeah, but I'm saying in a heliocentric paradigm, there isn't a V. So how can you solve for a V that isn't there?
This isn't. I'm not supporting the.
It's fine if you want to solve for V.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying how do you solve for a V that you don't know about? And you're saying you can solve for it. Okay, if you can solve for it, right, then that ends the heliocentrism because it means it has to be there if you can solve for it. As you're saying. Now, I don't think you can solve for it. I would say you have to know it first. But if you're saying you can, then that ends heliocentrism because that V is there then. It can't not be. You've just given limits. There's no limits in their paradigm, but there is a limit in reality.
So I think what Brian's suggesting is regardless if you can suggest you solve for it or you do solve for it, you're still having a volume of the containment. That's what V is.
Yeah, I understand. This has nothing to do with ball Earth.
I get that. I think Brian gets that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, in conclusion, yeah, we're going to have a V, and to have V, it's the volume of the containment, so there must be it. But there's debate about how you could, or potentially if you even could, calculate what that V was, because there's so many parameters beyond our ability to measure and therefore incorporate.
Yeah. So if I set it up, so change in X, so or change in Y in altitude over like the entire V equals NR divided by V times T, then you could put any numbers in there and you could be able to get any large enough like volume of containment. So all you need to do is you just need to have some mechanism.
Hold on, Brian. Just finish off that sentence. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as long as you have the correct amount of gas, like pressure or temperature, you can adjust those variables to get whatever you want. So that's what I'm saying. Like the container could be as large as possible. Like there is really no limit.
You have to determine the R exactly what it is, because here's the thing. What are you determining is the limit to it? Is it the Kármán line? Is it beyond that? Is it lower? I mean, it really is that, because you have to determine what that is, determine what you would get the volume out of it.
There were more problems than that. The problems are, just give me a second, because my phone is going to go dead pretty soon. The problems I have is this. You have a moving heat source, which is the sun, which is changing the temperatures and the pressures constant, every day, all day. And because of seasons, temperatures and pressures will be different in a place now than they will in 6 months' time. So you have this constant change. How do you solve for something when you have a constant change?
It's called calculus.
Yeah, but that's the constant change in the area that we can assess.
Averages.
Hold on. I've already said there's parameters that you don't know. So you're saying, okay, what within that given area? So where are you going to ascribe the limit to that variation? You can't. You're going to arbitrarily ascribe it to some, outside edge of some projected map? You don't know where the outside limit of that particular varying, constantly changing, calculable, says you, amount to solve for V. But where does that end? What's the edge of that? You don't know. That's the point.
Yeah. So how could you say that there is a limit to gas pressure?
Because we've got gas pressure, so it's got to be pressing on something in a volume. That's what you're trying to solve for. How much volume? Yeah, but that's in containment. Now your argument seems to hinge on the idea. That you can infer that we can have a infinite sky vacuum that's got a container, and that's perfectly acceptable because you can solve for V. Okay, is it just me? Is it just me, or is this guy talking through the conclusion to this argument? Is it just me?
Because
is it just me? It is just me. I'm just imagining this guy talking through the middle of what I'm just saying, right? No, I'm not imagining it. No, you don't know where the limit of that varying bit that you said you could just calculate. No, you haven't. You've got a massive variation with huge numbers of calculable differences within a given area that doesn't have a limit to the area for your calculation. That's the annihilation of your claim that you can solve for V. How do we know we've got V to solve for, says you? Well, V is the amount of the containment that we must have to achieve the gas pressure to be gradiated and varying massively. Yeah? The containment is an absolute prerequisite. It's an antecedent for the gas pressure. That's how we know. And it's not going to be successful in terms of... There's him interrupting again. It's the third time. It's not going to be successful for you to infer that because of your... You want to pop yourself on mute while I'm annihilating this garbage, whoever that is? Mr. Amish? Someone is off mute. It's not going to work to infer that, well, if I suggest that we can have a vast, vast, vast volume and it still be considered containment. No, we wouldn't achieve 14.7 psi if we had a vast, vast area, contained or otherwise, that gas could disperse into, because the gas would disperse into it. Meanwhile, we must have containment. That's the V that you'd be calculating for, says you. It's only him interrupting and stuttering and stammering through that last sentence again. And there's me pointing out that he's still stammering. I haven't taken breath yet, but he's stuttering and stammering, continuing, as me pointing out how bleeding unreasonable it is for him to stutter and stammer through the top of my conclusion that I've tried 3 times to make.
Your conclusion for 5 minutes, Nathan? About all
the amount that it's taken with him bloody interrupting me constantly is going to get discussed. Yeah, you need a container. That's the V you say you can calculate for. You can't. You don't know the parameters. That's the conclusion.
So if you don't know the variables, then how can you ever
You
assume
don't
that
know
there
them.
can't?
You don't know them.
Yeah, and neither do you.
I'm not suggesting I can calculate the volume of the containment we must have. You are.
Yeah, I'm assuming it algebraically.
Yeah, so don't ask me about what I need for volume or calculation that you say you can do and haven't. And can't. That's the end. That would be the end of your burden of proof reversal fallacy you just attempted. And I'm going to address it without him yammering through me, unless mods have to step in so I can address the burden of proof reversal fallacy attempt he's just employed. No, it's not. Absolutely confirmed by him as he still yammers through me. It's not my claim, not my measurement, not my suggestion he can get it. It's his. But he just put that on me. Burden of proof reversal fallacy. Why is this guy claimed to be on my side using fallacious reasoning? Because apparently I need a volume. No, I don't. We do need containment to have gas pressure. That is the third conclusion. Hopefully, yeah, definitely this time, not coming with interruption at the point of conclusion. It's not an infinitely vast space that gas could be filling, because it would be filling it.
All right, so you don't know the volume, which means that it could be nearly infinite, Nathan.
I never suggested I did know the volume. You're the one coming up. This is the second attempt of a burden of proof reversal fallacy by suggesting that me, by not knowing it when I haven't claimed I should be or would be knowing it. That's the second attempt at the same fallacy.
All right, so then what's the limit, Nathan?
Why are you asking me? Did I make a bleeding claim about it? So that's the third attempt. Third attempt. So he's going to chant through me. This is unreasonable. This is now becoming unreasonable. He's chanting through me as he makes the third attempt. He's asked me. I don't bleed and have a claim about it for the third bleeding time. Stop trying to flip the burden.
You made the claim.
No, I didn't.
Pressure
no, I did not. No, I
yes,
did not.
Did.
No, I did not make any claim about how much volume there was. This is a fourth attempt. No, we must have containment. You're the one saying you can calculate how much that's volume, containment that we must have. I say we must have containment. I made it explicitly clear. He's only got his one-trick pony flipping a burden 4 times. Now I'm sick of it. You can hear me getting irritated, moderators. Do I have to deal with it a 5th time now if he comes off mute and does it again? So, your suggestion that you, not me, can calculate the volume of the containment we must have fails. Let's not try and flip that burden onto me now, sunshine, like you've just done 4 times. Anything else?
You made the claim that pressure can't go that low, Nathan.
When did he quote me? I did not say those words. Lying bastard, remove him. That he will not quote that. I did not. Those words did not cross my lips. He will not be quoting me. Those words did not cross my lips. Gotta lie to Glurf.
I think what happened, what's wrong here is, I've said this many times before, and I'll say it now again, before I run out of power on my phone. People need to research what a dynamic closed system is. But then they'll realize there's absolutely no way that you can have an area that large, that is that low in pressure, and have a completely different level of pressure at the surface level. When you research a dynamic closed system, you'll see it explains every single thing that we have in the world at present. All the weather, everything, it's all explained within that. But you will not be able to have that much of a void in pressure. You just can't, because the pressure we have here is going to eventually fill that somewhat.
Yeah, I addressed that immediately, and when the liar claiming to be a flurf, when what his argument consists of is a claim that we can have a vast area, what, like the solar system-sized container, or the expansion of the known universe in the heliocentric model-sized container. Glurf, larper, scum. No, you're not a glurf. Oh, right, you're a flatty. Oh, great. Well, obviously you're on my side while you try and argue for a vast amount of non-containment in violation of a law of nature, and then straw man me and flip the burden 4 times whilst chanting through me just like a normal glurf would do. Oh, well, you definitely seem on my side, sunshine. Obviously, you're a flatty arguing for this vast area that what could be the same as the solar system or outer space. No, you're a LARPing glurf. That's what you actually are, you lying scumbag. That's why you're chanting through me and repeating and rinsing and repeating your attempt to flip the burden 4 times. Shout out to Phoenix Rising 86, who says, to get a volume, you'd need to know the exact temperature and pressure on the contain. Okay. A smelt baseline assertion fallacy instantly. I think I'm either terrible at reading or that was a slightly malformed super chat, Phoenix Rising. But thank you very much for the super chat.
Right, so you make no claim to how low the pressure can get.
Oh, is this the 5th attempt?
Answer the question. I'm just clarifying, Nathan. I don't want to interrupt.
Was the first 4 times not enough?
You didn't really answer, Nathan. Can you just answer, can you answer the question?
So was 4 times not enough? You telling me to answer something I've answered 4 times in the 5th attempt to do the exact same thing, and now I'm talking in and you're talking too. Now, this would be the 5th attempt of your claim that you can calculate volume attempting to be flipped onto me. It's now 5th attempt. At what point does the neutral moderation team say, no, I think 6 is probably enough now? This guy is only going to try and flip this burden by establishing that you don't have a claim that I'm making about the volume I can calculate that I failed in? Can we just establish that you don't have a claim that I need to flip onto you? So we can take this into the point where you do definitely have a claim that I'm making that I failed about. It's been 5 bleeding times.
So Nathan makes no claim how low gas pressure can get. All right. So space can exist. Thank you, Nathan.
Like, did he just make a conclusion on my behalf based on a quote that he didn't give? Seems like he did. That seems pretty unreasonable. No, what I actually claim is that we must have containment to form pressure. It's an antecedent-consequent relationship. Now, you suggested that you could calculate the volume of that, inferring that it could be vast, like space, even though you're claiming to be a flatty. Seems like an extraordinary effort to go to that sort of argumentation stature when you're a flatty. But there we go, obviously you are. I mean, it's not like you're a LARPer, as I've called you on. And it's not like you're chanting the same 5th attempt to flip the burden onto me or anything, after making a conclusion in that failure after the 5th attempt. You've concluded with something I've said without putting quotes around it. It just seems like you're a total scumbag, actually, sir. That's my conclusion. You're a scumbag. Earth's measured flat, and there is no outer space sky vacuum. There's just chanting glurf LARPers that can talk through the conclusion when I make it. Notice there was no interruption to his conclusion, made with a quote I didn't actually say. Now we've got an open mic from somebody in the Discord server ruining my conclusion that Earth is measured flat, and any volume that will be calculable with the plane of reference we'll be using for the containment that we must have to have a volume to calculate when he failed and suggested he could calculate it. I make no claims about the pressure that does exist beyond the fact it must have containment. And it must. There is no outer space, there is no trips to the moon via a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 torr, as claimed in the heliocentric model. I undo that claim. That's what I do.
So if space is claimed to be 10 to the negative 14 or 17 torr or whatever, that still implies a container, Nathan. So we can still have that pressure.
Oh, well, good for you. You can believe that second law of thermodynamics violation, area 10 to the minus 17 torr, black area next to a Earth in that space with the gas not filling it in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. You're entitled to believe that means that the gas that's not contained next to a vacuum in those pictures is actually contained because space is the container. You can believe that as a fundamentalist religious LARPing glurf who needs to believe we've got a giant space-sized container that's not demonstrating the laws of entropy when you look at a blue marble with gas on it not filling that space. You can believe that as a zealot. But I thought you were a flurf. No, you're not. You're a LARPing scumbag glurf who needs to flip the burden 5 times and is now saying that you've had a victory because that means we do have containment when we look at a blue marble with gas not dispersing into a vacuum. No, that's a straight-up 3rd time. Second law of thermodynamics violation, like I told you the first time. LARPer.
I never claimed to be a flirt, Nathan.
Oh, did you not? You just like to infer that to try and take some sort of advantage? Oh, well, that's what I would say if I was a lying LARPer too.
I never claimed to be a flirt,
I stutter much. I what now?
You never claimed, or I never
Telling me what I'm claiming, it seems like you're a glurf LARPer who's a scumbag stutterer. Now he's been called on what he actually is. Yeah, I'm done with you, mate. I don't want to talk to you anymore. You're scum. You've put words in my mouth and haven't put quotes around him. You lied about what I've said, taking a conclusion after attempting to flip the burden 5 times. You are a scumbag. You are also not anything other than a LARPer pretending to be a flatty by inference. And then saying, oh, well, I never actually said that, and then chanting through me, summarising, because you're now chanting through me, behaving exactly like Glurf's behaved, because you're chanting through me, summarising what's actually happened here. But if you chant through me summarising what's actually occurred, maybe the audience won't hear it, or the Discord servers will just indefinitely allow you to exercise your LARPer Glurf ways, which have been admirably demonstrated by you here today. I thank you. I rest my case. Any more for any more? Any more LARPers pretending to be flatties that want to pretend we can have a giant space-shaped and sized container? Feel
I
free.
have a question, if I may ask.
Feel free.
Why are so many retards on this server? Tell me.
That's not, shouldn't be directed at me. Direct that to the server
I mean,
operators.
I'm talking.
So Spike's got moderated immediately because that wasn't directed at me. It was directed at the moderation team. So he's immediately been shut up on this neutral platform because they're insinuating that the server operators, something I have nothing to do with, are doing a crap job. Me, I get the same 5 attempts, rinse and repeat, because this platform that's not mine, that's this Discord server that I have absolutely no control over, wants to seem as neutral as possible. Therefore, they're not going to shut the guy up on the first attempt to rinse and repeat the same thing when lying about being a flatty. Or at least inferring it and then saying, I didn't actually say that. Yes, scumbag, totally gross behaviour.
Is that the guy who was saying he could calculate a volume?
Yeah, same guy.
Well, how much gas is there then?
Oh, we didn't get that.
Now, what he's got to realise is he's stating an ideal gas law, EV equals nRT. For him to be able to do the resolution he claimed, he would have to know exactly how many gas molecules there are in his universe for him to resolve the other side of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't. He'd have to have an exact amount of gas.
He needs to know how many gas molecules he's got.
Well, you get counting, mate, and come back when you let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, in conclusion, there is no area of volume 10 to the minus 17 torr, aka a sky vacuum. The gas would fill the space, suggesting that that means there is a container. Therefore, you can have a blue marble in a sky vacuum without gas dispersing into it. It's still a straight-up second law of thermodynamics violation. The same conclusion had at the beginning is the same conclusion at the end. Of course, at the beginning, when I got him to concede that point and he agreed nodding along, pretending to be a flatty, as a LARPing glurf scumbag, it was then, hand-waved thereafter, like it doesn't matter that gas fills space and that we can just have that giant space. No, we can't. Straight up second law of thermodynamics violation. There is no sky vacuum called outer space. It's fake. Therefore, everything that's claimed to take place in it, trips to the moon, trips to Mars, trips with gold discs out to the edge of it, they're all debunked immediately.
Well, he did say that if we knew X, Y, and Z, we could calculate, let's just say, a volume. You'd have to know X, Y, and Z in the first place, though.
And they don't.
And we don't. That's the problem. Before we can even extrapolate that you might be able to do that.
And why is he extrapolating it out? So we could suggest that there's a giant space-sized container, that gas isn't falling in line with entropic dispersion laws. No, mate, that's still second law of thermodynamics violation. I told you the first time we discussed this. Lack of parameters to calculate it with. But maybe I'm making a claim about it.
Well, he'd have to know how much gas pressure there is at 40 miles up, but that's something nobody knows. We don't have any weather balloons that can go that high.
What a shame.
You know what I mean?
So his claim that would be used in conclusion, even though he didn't get the opportunity or right to make a conclusion that he still seemed to want to make anyway, that means we've got a giant space-sized container. You can't measure any of that to make that conclusion. Even if he had got the data, it would still be incomplete. Yeah, it's just a total failure. But his cards were revealed at the end when he's like, that means we've got a giant space-shaped container. Now, he didn't actually say that. That was a paraphrasing of the sentiment. Not that I would ever suggest that was a quote and put quotes around it.
Well, the thing is that when we asked him earlier on, well, what is it then? What is the V? He wanted to move away from it because he didn't have what he needed to do that. He's saying if someone did have, then they could. It's all hypothetical, none.
Right, indeed you do. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Okay, sounds good. It's not really. It's kind of a question, but it's also kind of it's an experience that I.
Oh, it's
I went
not a
through, and I just,
question. No,
wanted
that
to
was
share.
a close call.
No.
You were looking forward to
No.
asking a question, but it turned out just to be an experience.
No, it's an
Jimi
experience
Hendrix
I
album,
had.
or-
No. So, I work for a semiconductor company, and I recently, basically, semiconductor is there's multiple things that we create. There's people who create memory, like Intel and Micron. I work for a company that.
Hold on, real quick, because I supply to those people. Do those discs, the platters they make, are those flat?
Hold on, let him make his point first. Come on. He's got somewhere to go with this before you start quizzing him about what he does. Go ahead, Cruz.
So I work for a semiconductor company, and they had me go out to a couple sites. One of them is one of our providers that we have in Santiago. So I went out to Santiago, and when I was out there, I told them, it's like, hey, I'm down here. I have a niece that's over in Argentina, and I was going to take a couple weeks of vacation. So I went over to Argentina for a little while. I flew back to Santiago, and I had an invite to go over to Canberra over in Australia. And I flew out there, stayed there for a couple days, flew back, and then I flew back there. I'm actually in Dallas now, and this is where I'm out from right now. So I had a bit of a question, because when I was looking, because I like looking through lots of videos of science and things like that, and I remember that my flight was from Dallas to Santiago was about 10.5 hours, and flight to Buenos Aires was about 4 hours. It wasn't that too long. But out to from Santiago to Sydney, it was the airport that they had out there, was a straight flight over. It was about 14 hours. And I was just thinking, it's like, okay, never really had the question. Then somebody kind of brought up the flat Earth map and everything. And I kind of was like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because if it was, just like 4 hours more than flying from Dallas to Santiago. So I basically have the question is like, do you have any explanation as to what it seems like would be almost double the distance, yet the trip, flight and back was just about the same. I mean, I think there was about 20 minutes difference between the flights in there and back.
I see. No, I mean, I don't particularly have a claim about that. But what would your what was your conclusion that you drew from that, given that's you talking about it?
So my conclusion is like, so I have a friend who introduced me to flat Earth. I don't know much about it. I mean, I grew up in the normal high school system and education system in the United States, and they always said it's a lie. So, according to what I understand about this, it makes sense on a globe model. And then I look at the flat Earth model, it doesn't make sense. But he says you should probably research
Can I
into
ask a
this.
question?
You can once it's done.
I got a question too.
Can you wait till he's done?
Model.
Yeah, I heard him. You just need to get him to the end of his point, and then we'll start quizzing him.
All right.
So I guess it's like, so in the globe model, the distance between, let's say, Dallas to Santiago, and be about 10 hours and 20 minutes, and then distance between Santiago to Sydney is longer, and it does take longer, but it doesn't take like 23 hours. So, it just doesn't make sense to me on the map.
Therefore,
So
okay, you're nearly there. So therefore, what?
So I just want to know what would explain that. Do you know more than I do?
Yeah,
so
I
if
already
you could
answered
explain
that.
to me.
Okay, I got that. Hold on, I got that. And I said, no, I don't make any claims about that. But what was the conclusion that you draw? You got very close to
I
making.
didn't say you made.
I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done
claims.
responding to you. You don't need to yammer through the top of me talking. It's okay. I'm trying to clear the airwaves so you can be talking uninterrupted. It'd be nice if you extended me the same courtesy. Thank you very much. No, we got that. We just needed, as I asked the first time, this is the second, for your conclusion based on what you are telling us, as opposed to, well, that doesn't make much sense. What's your explanation? I didn't make any claims about this. It's your claim. So could you, given you've made your claim, we've had a good listen to what you've suggested so far. We've heard about your flat earth model, in quotes, and your globe model, in quotes. And now you just need to make a conclusion. So then we can address it once you and your claim have been concluded by you. Do you understand?
Yes. May I speak?
Yes.
Okay. So my conclusion is it makes sense on what I understood about the globe. And it doesn't make sense what I understand about flat Earth. But I don't know everything about either one, really. All I know
Okay,
is
no
that
worries.
if I
Then we
look
don't need to know anything else that you
on-
don't know. That's good enough. Thank you very much. Thank you. You could list off all the things you don't know, but I'm good with that. Thank you. We understand your claim now. Works on globe model, doesn't work on flat model. And you don't know what they really are. Okay. Well, then we need to establish that with you, the claimant. What globe model? Precisely, please.
Thank you.
What do you mean?
The globe model that you said, where is it? We'd like to take a look at it.
We'll get to the flat model after.
One that has your flights on it. The one that has your flights that you understand work.
I mean, it's everywhere. So the radius of the Earth, they said, is about almost 4,000 miles.
Stop.
Okay, so
Stop. Do you understand that word, or do you need me to say it a little louder? You seem to be waffling on to radius values. You described your claim, we listened to it. We then parroted back a paraphrased version of it so that you knew we knew what you had claimed. Globe model, you say it works better. Give it us. I seem to be getting a long, protracted silence.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking me.
The globe model you said works better. Give us that. They were your bleeding words. I'm still talking, clarifying slower that which has been clarified 3 times now. Do you, the one who has made this claim of a, quote, globe model we're asking for, that, quote, works better, do you understand that which you've claimed you're being asked to give us? It's your claim. Hello? So you say it works better. Let's see it then. I don't really understand what you're asking me for. Perhaps I could waffle on about radius for a bit. No, just give it us. 4th time.
May I speak?
No, you can give us the globe model that you said works better. Not speak. Give us the model.
That's what...
Don't stutter. Give us the model you said works better. Are you dumb?
I am not stuttering.
I'm not giving you permission to speak, you dumbo.
The model
I'm not giving you permission to speak. I'm demanding that which you already spoke about, and airways were cleared so you could say it. Now you've said it. Now we're asking you to give. That's not speak. Give it us. Are you dense?
Yes. Okay. I'm giving you the model. The model is
hallelujah.
That the distance between...
That's not a model. Describing a distance between something isn't a model. You don't seem to understand. You seem slow. I haven't asked give me the distance between something. I've said give us the model. The one you specifically said. Globe model works better. You.
Yes.
Give it us then. 4th time, 5th time.
Yes, I am giving it to you.
Let's see
The
it then.
model
Okay,
is
post
that
it. No, I
says
don't need
on
words.
the globe
Your words
that it is
aren't. He doesn't seem to understand. I'm not giving him
11,300
permission to
kilometers.
verbally
That is
describe
the
anything.
model.
He's just
It is a
chanting through
specific
me.
number
I am not
that
asking
is
him to
time.
talk. I'm saying give us a model. Giving me something doesn't involve him talking. He's telling me I am giving it you, and then he's talking. Talking isn't a model. No talk. Give me model.
Cruiser,
Has he posted the model in Discord?
Chat.
Has he? Is it? I don't want to hear him talk. Has he posted the model in Discord?
For it. Nathan, I'm asking him to post it in Discord right now so I can transfer it to you guys.
Thank you.
Cruz, please post your model in the side chat.
That's if he understands and comprehends what you've said, because he might ask you whether or not that means something that he doesn't understand, given that he said he's got something he's been asked for 5 times, and now you, the moderator, are having to reiterate that, which is bleeding obvious because it's been said 5 times. Not talk, give model. I've even had to cut out a few words to make it that little bit more simple for you.
If you would just ask me to put something in the chat, I would have, instead of just saying give model, give model, give model,
Let's
give model,
have a
give model.
little look. Wonderful. It only took 6 attempts.
I'm not patronizing you, dude.
Well, 6 attempts shouldn't be patronised. Dum-dum. Get on with it. Don't appeal to your stupid feelings when it's taken 6 attempts. If you're dense, it'll take 6 attempts where you're going, what do you mean you want my model that I said works better? What does that mean? That makes you thick, sir. Now, I am going to condescend to you now because of your stupidity. Are we clear in our understanding, that's you, sir, that being stupid and asking what do you mean when you've explicitly stated you've got something that works better makes you demonstrably stupid and will get you condescended to by me? I hope that's clear as rhetorical.
May I speak to the moderators?
You can give me the model. Have we got it yet?
I don't.
Have we got the model, or is he still talking?
Nathan, I'm trying to do it.
Bruce,
I am mute in Discord.
Seems to be chanting, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just close my Discord line and appeal to my audience that he's just obfuscating. This is a distraction technique. He's not posting anything. The moderator's trying to get control of him. He doesn't want to. He wants to keep talking.
Cruz, can you just post that to me personally, and I will send it.
See, I said I'm new.
We don't need to know what you said. He still seems to think we want to engage in conversation with him. Let me just make a conclusion, because this has gone on long enough. Please, can you stop him from doing this? No, what's the conclusion? There is no model. There is no globe model. He won't present us with one. That's the fact. There isn't one. Otherwise, he'd have done it. So, in conclusion, just to summarise the actual argument, he's asked us to stack up a globe in false dichotomy, which anything he presents and suggests will be a model, will be derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to give us the latitude grid that's wrapped around the globes that will not be globe models. Now, that system in false dichotomy with a flat Earth that will come from a globe projection, he suggests should work on one or other, and works better on the one that has yet to been provided. Meanwhile, both models come from flat Earth measurements of the stars. So there is no globe model. There's a projection using flat Earth elevation angles to stars to create a model you believe works. And if you in any way show some suggested model working that's globe-shaped, we'll be quick to point out that it's got latitude lines on it that have come from flat Earth measurements. So ultimately, it would just be a win for the flat Earth. And then if you take the globe Earth projected onto an azimuthal equidistant projection, for example, we'd point out that the globe that it was projected from also has latitude lines wrapped around it, and they came from a flat Earth measurement of the stars. So we've got a false dichotomy suggesting that a globe projection versus a globe is actually proving something. It isn't. It's a false dichotomy, both of which have come from flat Earth measurements.
So, Cruz, you've put a link here, yeah?
Cruz, trying to help you now, buddy. If he doesn't want to be on.
Shout out to Phoenix
Sorry,
Rising.
I was just trying to get the thing taken care of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so
We don't need to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Just get it taken care of. We don't need your voice. We heard your claim. We cleared the airwaves so we could get it, and now we're about 5 minutes away from the last time we asked you to get this model. Don't need to have an answer. Just need you to post something. Don't need to hear your voice.
You've dropped a link for a screenshot. Do you have the screenshot? Because I'm not going to open an unknown link here.
I can do that for you.
Meanwhile, but both models, regardless
Sorry,
of
because
what
I'm
they,
doing everything on a phone.
regardless, both models will come from flat plane origins, measurements of the stars and the angles to them. Both of these models will be flat Earth in their genesis. So this won't be proving a globe. I've already concluded the argument in its entirety, because your argument was based on having a false dichotomy with two models, both of which are derived from flat Earth genesis angle measurements of stars. So we're not proving a globe with this argument. But we'd still like to see the model.
I sent it to the person. I'm trying to get everything here because I sent a link. Now I have to make a screenshot of said link and everything. So that's
The link of
it's all doing on a phone.
the globe model that came from flat Earth measurements in the first instance. He's still trying to get that to us.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So once we get it, we'll be proving a flat Earth with it then. Excellent. Can't wait. So again, in the stony silence we now have, in lieu of the model that didn't ever come, everything's based on the angle measurements to the stars of a flat plane in terms of these maps and models, regardless of what he presents. They'll all have their genesis in flat Earth measurements. So we'll just be proving a flat Earth regardless in this stupid false dichotomy that's set up for idiots to take on board and then parrot off and then be slightly gobsmacked when you actually ask them to back it.
Well, once he shows us his model, he can then maybe tell us about the model that we never claimed that he's comparing it to.
What, the globe projection from a globe that's got latitude on it that came from flat Earth measurements of the stars? He'll explain it. The straw man model that he said we would be using in his false dichotomy. He'll explain that to
No,
us.
that's a map. No, that's a map, not a model. Maps aren't models.
Right.
I'd like to see how gravity works on his model and how he can demonstrate that.
I'm especially intrigued to see how the second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum works in his model that obviously will work. I mean, really intrigued. I'm so excited.
I'd like to know what anti-flat Earth school he went to.
I never claimed any of that. I just claimed that
Sorry, son, did you get us that model? We'll critique it after we see it, son. Don't you worry. Along with pointing out the flat Earth measurements that would be needed to create it.
Wait, what? Measurements aren't creating a model.
Well, we haven't
I
seen one
just
yet.
want to state that he can't produce the ephemeris. The ephemeris is not his globe model.
No,
Just
but it
want to
is.
throw that out there.
No, but it is the origin of the genesis that creates these models.
Really?
What models?
I keep saying, okay, right, I'm just going to get it in the neck and never get to my actual point if I keep using this bleeding word, aren't I, Kiwi? You're never going to allow this. I've now realised the consequences. You've forced it into a situation where there are consequences to a bloody point I want to make. Therefore, I have to pay attention now. Well done.
I tried to warn you about this. How many years
I can't
ago?
believe it. I sat smugly for about a week thinking, he'll never make this consequential to me. Now he has, I'm fuming. Bastard.
Chris, are you trying to get back in, mate? Was that you?
So I sent the images over to old dude.
Thank you.
Basically, on this projection,
Hold on,
it
images.
shows that the distance between Dallas to Santiago is
Sorry, stop a
less than
second.
half
Guy, stop.
the
We didn't
distance
stop. We haven't even
according
looked at it.
to-
Stop. You said images. If it's a model, right, I want to be able to have a fiddle with it and that. Right? It's a model, right? Have you got a deluded idea that some screenshot or some images are a model? Are you delusional? Do you know what a model is?
Those images depict a flat Earth, by the way, FYI.
Do they? I mean, we'll have a
Yeah,
look at them.
they're in Master
But no, even if it
Yeah,
wasn't
they're
a
in
flat
Master
Earth
B,
that it was
guys.
depicting, that's not a model.
It's not. It's not a flat Earth. One is an azimuthal projection of a globe, and the other one is a Mercator projection of a globe.
Got two flat globe projections that have come from origin measurements. They've both got a grid on them.
Exactly.
So they're both flat Earth in origin. The genesis of them both is flat Earth angles to the stars to create the grid. So those.
It would have to be rum line distances as well.
I can't give you a physical globe online.
Sorry, so let's just conclude then, sir. When you said there was a model that worked better, the actual reality is you can't bleed and give us one. Oh, why did you mess us around and waste our time, you stupid little man with no claim? So you just didn't have what you said you thought you had. You just thought you'd waste our time and chant through us thinking we verbally needed this model you didn't have as I correctly predicted. Yeah, you didn't have one, did you, Sunshine? You don't have one. We know that. That's why we asked you to go and get it, as you thought we needed verbal responses about distances because you don't know what a model is. Yes, sir, that's me berating you. Would you like to appeal about your feelings being hurt because I'm berating you for your stupidity? No, sir, let's just conclude. You don't have one. Don't lie to us about what you've got when you haven't. How dare you waste our time with your lies about what you haven't got? Unbelievable. Don't lie to me next time, Sunshine. I don't like being lied to. If you say you've got something like a globe model that works better, you better bleed and have one, or you'll get my wrath. Stupid man. Now go away. Go away and learn your stupid dunce lesson about what happens when you lie about things you haven't got. Understand, Sunshine? Get lost. Stop lying to us.
He also, in his images, just want to point.
Sorry, this dunce that I've just told to get lost think that's his cue to talk to us. Dunce.
Well, I'm talking.
Yeah, well, Brian's talking, one of the adults that doesn't lie about things they haven't got. He thinks it's his turn to talk through him. Dunce, you've just been told to remove yourself. You didn't have that, right? We just heard you say I didn't have it. I don't have it. I can't have one. Why did you say you had? Because you're a glurf scumbag liar who doesn't have things he says, a.k.a. lies about them. And then when it's push comes to shove, you have to admit that. Now we don't want to talk to you anymore. Based on your demonstrable idiocy. That doesn't mean address me while I'm in the middle of telling you off, by the way. You belligerent little man.
Cruiser, if you can just pop yourself on mute for a bit, please. Don't have to leave, but just pop yourself on mute. Thank you.
What I find funny is he showed in his top image some kind of a AE map, and he's showing a blue line between what's supposed to be Buenos Aires and Sydney, and a red line between Buenos Aires and Dallas or whatever. But in his bottom image, he only shows this line between what would be Santiago and Sydney, not Buenos Aires and Sydney, from what I can see. And he doesn't show any distance on his bottom image, even though they're on the images, not models. And it does not show what the distance between Dallas and Buenos Aires is there to even look to see if we could even compare them to the distance he has between Santiago, not Buenos Aires, and Sydney. And also, he has to be claiming Great Circle routes. They don't use Great Circle route distances. They're an after calculation. They use rum line distances because Great Circle route distances don't match reality after a very short amount of time. They only match the correct rum line distances over short distances. They don't match in big distances, which they would be. So even though he's not producing any models, the images he produced omitted certain things. They don't show all that he's talking about. They're not models, and he has to be claiming Great Circle route distances, which the pilots don't fly when they're flying big distances.
I'm sorry, it could be because my kids have just come home, but I'm slightly confused. Hold on a second, Clover. Which one of these flat images is globe-shaped? I'm missing something.
Cruz, in these images, which one of these images is globe-shaped? Top or bottom?
Caw. Am I allowed to talk now?
We're just asking
I'm
which one's
asking that
globe-shaped.
question, yeah.
We've established they're not models and you didn't have that
Okay.
and you're a liar, but now we're introducing you back from the dunce corner to establish which of the two things you did present us are globe-shaped.
Can you present a globe shape?
I didn't ask for a
on
question.
digital
I
flow
asked you.
screen?
I didn't ask you to ask me something. I said, which one is globe-shaped? Second time.
On the two images, which one's depicting a globe?
An image is a flat image. All images are
So
flat
to answer my question, neither are globe-shaped then?
Yeah.
What makes you think
'Cause
it
it's an
works? Sorry,
image.
just there's a follow-up question for you. So given that your position was you got a globe model, we established that was a lie and you didn't. But what you thought was a globe model isn't globe-shaped along with not being a model. So let's just assess the two words you said you'd got. Globe and model. Those were the things you said you got. And works better. You haven't got a globe and it's not a model. Clear? These are both flat. From flat Mercator projection and flat azimuthal equidistant projection of globe derived from flat Earth angles to the stars. Neither of these are globe-shaped. Clear? It was rhetorical. I didn't need an answer. Yeah, they're neither globe-shaped. If he did succeed in his false dichotomy setup, what would he be proving? That there's a flat model reified into the world? Okay, so we've got on a flat Mercator projection then if that wins. No, if the other one wins, we're on an azimuthal equidistant flat projection.
Yeah, but all this is nonsense because the first question I wanted to ask Nathan, I wasn't able to ask it. Right? You didn't allow me to ask it. Was
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
Yeah.
Not just I didn't get a chance to ask him. You didn't
this is all
let
total
me.
nonsense. Yeah, but that's what happens. You don't. This is all total nonsense. Did the planes that he was on use the lift effect? Because if they did, then they flew over a horizontal plane. It's that simple. There's no if, buts, or maybes, no way out of it. That's the way it is.
That makes sense, given that the both of the maps are flat.
Who cares what about distances and times and all the rest of it? That's all stuff within private companies that we actually can't verify. Right? I don't make any claims about that. I don't know about that. But I know how a plane flies and I know what it does do and what it doesn't do. And it doesn't fly an arc distance over a globe.
No, the reason it's arced on the bottom image is because you've got a square grid projected from a globe that originated in circles of equal elevation measured with Polaris. So it distorts it into a curved journey on the map, but in reality, the square grid has come from a curved origin. So the distortion seems to be in the journey you're taking. It's garbage. That's what happens when you project flat elevation angles to stars onto globes and then back onto flat maps. You have all sorts of stupid distortions to have to deal with.
Look, this man just innocently took all these trips and they was wondering, how come we're not, understanding his globe? That's basically what he's asking.
Which globe would that be? We didn't get presented with a globe. There's a
Yeah,
Mercator
the one
projection.
he can't present.
I'd like to hear his rebuttal, though.
Fair enough.
Can I speak?
Yeah. You're being asked by one of my panel what you've
Sorry,
got to
did
say about
someone
it.
tell you couldn't sleep?
Oh,
Speak.
okay. So a model is a physical or mathematical representation of something. According to the flight distances, for what they told me, Dallas to Santiago.
It is not.
Is about
That is not a
5,000.
model, sir. Which model are you? What type of model are you giving us? Is it a scientific model?
Am I allowed to speak? Am I allowed to speak?
Well, you,
Because I'm not interrupting you
everyone
guys.
just calm down for a second. Everyone calm down just for a second. It's not that you're not allowed to speak. It's that it seems, I mean, I could be wrong, that you're rinsing and repeating the idea that you do have a model, having conceded that you don't. So it is kind of objectionable, and people therefore are objecting in the middle of you rinsing and repeating this assertion that you do have a mathematical
So
model.
they can object when I
And
speak?
is it just me, or is he now projecting onto me that interruption that he objected about 2 seconds ago? He's literally doing that very thing to me, isn't he now? What a shock. Yeah, I'm explaining why you're being objected to, given that it is objectionable, given you've already conceded this. You're rinsing and repeating, as we would say.
Let him speak. That, Cruz.
Sorry, let who speak? The guy rinsing and repeating his assertion that he's got a model that he's now justifying having conceded he didn't. Should I let him speak to reassert it rinse and repeat style? White Knight.
Okay, Cruz. Yeah, you gave a definition
Let him
of what a
speak.
model of.
Sorry, now we've got a
what a
rinsing and
model
repeating
was.
white knight through you, AJ.
Yeah, Cruz.
Yeah.
You presented the definition of a model, yeah, in the first instance, and then you're going to continue on with a description, as Nathan's calling rinsing and repeating. Yeah, hang on, Cruz. Now, first of all, QE just wanted to clarify your definition of the model before you moved on to anything further, yeah? So we can take this step by step without getting lost in the weeds. So, first of all, if QE would like to confirm your definition of a model, or you could have a discussion about that. That was the first question.
Yep. I asked you what model, which type of model are you giving us? Is it a scientific model?
It's a mathematical model.
A mathematical model. Do we live on a
Yes, if I
mathematical
can
model?
continue. May I speak?
He's asked you if
Do
we live
we
on a...
live on a mathematical model?
No.
Then why are you
But
giving
we
us
use
that?
mathematics in our days.
I didn't ask you where we
If I
use
go-
mathematics. You said model, correct?
Yes.
So it's not a scientific
can I
model.
give it?
We've established that. It's a mathematical model. Is that what you posted in here in Master B?
You asked me for something. I just wanted a simple question to ask, and I have actually not been able to even ask that because I've been interrupted so many
Shut
times.
up and give us a model.
I
My
asked,
God, are you some
why
type of Nancy?
Now we're doing the same dance we've already done with him once, by the way, just for the people who might feel that the White Knight was justified telling us to let him finish. We've already done this dance once. Now we're back to the same square 2 squares ago where we're, oh, can you give us that model then? Right? Now he's having an argument about what a model is. He's already conceded he's not got one. QE's pointing out that we've got a convention. What, is that something we live on? No, we're not living on this idea in maths. So that's not going to fly either. But now we're just chanting back and forth with him moaning about how he's been maltreated. We've already done this dance with you. Now, if you're going to reassert, rinse and repeat, that you've got a model, 2 steps like we've already done them. No, I didn't imagine that time that we just spent doing this already. But if you're going to repeat it and go through it again, yeah, expect people to be interrupting you as you don't provide us with the model that you're being demanded of again. So, just for clarity for my audience.
6,000 miles.
Just for clarity for my audience, we're not waiting for him to talk. He said he's got a model, mathematical in nature this time, even though we're not living on maths. Nevertheless, he's still been asked to provide it. That doesn't involve any verbality from him. None.
Yes, it does.
No, just give us the model, the new one. After conceding you didn't have one last time, we're doing it again, irritating though that is. So you just need to give it us for a second time so we can point out your failure a second time. Or alternatively, we could get it from you now without this, projection, because he's chanting through me, and my objections to this dance that we're doing while he doesn't give us what he said he's got for a second time, having conceded the first time he hadn't got it. We're sick of your dance. This is just an obfuscation tactic.
6,000 miles in 10 hours.
Nobody's asking for a distance. Notice how what he's giving us now isn't what we've asked for. He wants to go on with his argumentation without providing that which he said he's got, which is a mathematical model he hasn't provided. But he thinks it's now justifiable to keep chanting. There was a small pause before he went on to make his further claim to a model he hasn't provided and is being held to task on. Second time. No, you're not going to get to move on with your example, with distances. We heard it once already. We heard the entirety of your claim. Do you think that when we ask you for part of your claim, that would be the model that you haven't provided and failed to and conceded, that we need something else repeating? We don't. I think we're done with him again. He's a dunce. I think we're done with him again. We can put him back in the dunce corner. We're done with him again.
The 2 models he's not willing to provide, he wants to argue about and tell us what they are the very backbone of his claim. He doesn't want to provide them at all. He just wants us to accept these 2 models that he hasn't provided that are, I don't know, mathematical. At least one of them is claimed to be a mathematical model, and whatever that is. And we're supposed to just go on with his claim and allow him to build strawman arguments off of that claim.
We've dealt with this claim. That's the point. That's why it's irritating. What we're going to do is he's going to base his maths on what he's already presented us, which is 2 flat maps. So what are you going to babble on about distances for? Has he given us the concession? Yeah, I understand that what I've given you to put in false dichotomy isn't globe-shaped. Therefore, I cannot continue with the same claim. Oh no, but a model could be mathematical. Who gives a shit? We've already dealt with this. We're done here. Look, can you just attack the mod team and tell them that they're crap? Because then you will immediately get removed from the discussion. I'm sick of rinsing and repeating things 6 times with zealots.
He's also a pseudoscientist because he said it does science every day.
Oh, well, no, he said he dealt with semiconductors. There's a possibility, Slim, that he does actually do some science. He's dealing with technology that's definitely...
he's not going to do any.
Well, maybe not. I would put my money on not, but maybe. There's a very, 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 very slim chance, though.
Ask him what a hypothesis is.
Oh, God, you guys want to engage with him again? Really? Is there anybody else?
Let's move on to his science acumen, then, since he's Mr. Sciencey.
I can't now.
But he'll have to be given permission to speak because he's not allowed to speak all the time, yet no one told him he's not allowed to speak.
No, I have. I've put him in the dunce corner. I mean, I say I've put him in the dunce.
Yeah, but you're not in charge of anything.
I know I'm not. Shh.
It's like telling me you can't speak. It's like I can say what I want. You're not the boss.
That's right, I'm not. But if I can make it seem like I am.
Nathan, who do you smack harder, the Glovers or your daughter?
All right, you just got banned from the server, dude. Well done.
And that motherfucker forever.
It was worth it. It was worth it. It was
a piece of shit.
It was worth it. You're a retard.
So in
and
response,
thanks for the 2-7 options.
Okay, that's okay. No, I can summarise that too. That's okay. I can deal with that. So in response to us pointing out that what's on screen still when he said that is 2 flat maps that are derived from flat Earth measurements of the stars, the response is to accuse me of beating my children. Just to get that on
that
record.
are not models, by the way.
Pardon?
That are not models.
They're
not
models
mathematical models either.
Correct. These 2 flat maps claimed in false dichotomy are flat and not globe-shaped. And the maps are derived from elevation angles to the stars, which are measured flat. The response is to call me a child abuser. Just so we're clear what's just happened.
Yes,
Nathan, only shortly. I want to say something. Only shortly. Moderator,
and
that guy is still on the...
else.
It's in this guy is still here. Is that not enough for banning the guy? Is that not fucking...
Just you need to calm down. I was going to give Nathan the opportunity. Do you want to engage in Embo? Because I am just about to ban him. It's your choice, Nathan.
Oh, Embo. Yeah, he's a knuckle dragger. He gets punished every day and comes back again.
I'm glad you've asked me. That's very kind that you've asked, but it's not my server. You do what you like. If he's broke your rules, then that's up to you. But you know, I can take that on the chin. No worries. I can spin that. No worries. Call me a child abuser. That's going to make the Earth globe shaped on one of these flat maps, is it? Okay.
That are not models, by the way.
It didn't say they were that time.
And they're not mathematical models either.
No, they're not.
What are the types of mathematical models?
Geometry? I don't know.
I don't know either. That's caught me on the hop. What are the different types of
in geometry, I would say, but I don't know if that's correct.
There's 3 main types of mathematical models. Nothing to do with natural science.
Big ones, medium-sized ones, and small ones.
Equations, graphs, and computer modeling.
And computer models. Yes, I knew that.
That's what I said.
That's what I said too. Just as you were saying it, you heard me. Equations, computer models, and what was the third one?
Graphs.
Graphs, equations, and computer models. Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what Brian said 2 weeks ago.
Brian did say that 2 weeks ago. I do remember him.
So give us the equation for your globetard.
I'd like to see a graph of it.
I want to see the graph. Yeah, the globe graph. Will there be any drop?
Or we could look at the computer model, maybe offer Google Earth, and we'll show you the horizontal plane of reference for the altitude measurements of Earth. That'd be flat.
Zero elevation.
Yeah, the elevation profile. Right, looks like we're done here. Anybody else got anything? I'll give one last opportunity to the Discord server, then we're going to thank the exceptionally good moderation team. I didn't mean it when I appealed to someone to badmouth you. It was just being said in irony.
Only 9:44. You got plenty of time for OME TV.
I'm not going to do any. I did that yesterday.
Then what are you going to do?
Enjoy the company of my wife and children. What's it to you?
He's trying to make up excuses so he can close out the show.
Sorry, I'll be honest. I was lying a little bit. I'm going to finalise my divorce papers with my wife and beat my kids. Seriously though, any more for any more in the Discord server? Any more questions?
No, seriously, you need to stick your ass here.
Right, I might have to close the G+ line as I'm thanking Discord. As always,
you most certainly will.
Especially to AJ, because he's the guy who invited me to be here regularly. Thank you very much for having us. You have, and I'm not being insincere, it's exceptional. You're a really good server, and you've got a really good mod team. Thank you very, very much for having us all.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Hey, Globers. Looks like he's getting backing away now, so you guys can slowly peek around the corner and see if you can come in here and say something.
No, you need to be a bit less bassy in your voice and give them a bit more encouragement with the scenario that's more friendly to them. Nathan's running away terrified now. So, you brave lads can all come out now. Thanks again for having us.
Yeah, that does sound better.
Right. With that, though, I am going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord once again and my G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.